Do you have a wild one to celebrate in your life? Let me show you how to create this safari-themed balloon centerpiece. To start off, we need to inflate 5 5-inch balloons to 4 pumps of air with a hand pump, or to about 4.5 inches in diameter. Once you have 2 balloons inflated to the same size, we need to tie them together into a pair. So wrap the nozzle around twice and tie them together into a simple knot, and that will create our pair. Now we need to make a trio out of this. So inflate a single balloon, wrap the single balloon's nozzle around the nozzles of the pair, and then tie those nozzles together, creating a trio. Now make one more pair just like we did a moment ago and slot the 2 of them together so that all the nozzles touch right in the center. Then twist one balloon from the pair and one from the trio around each other, and that will lock them into a set of 5. We need to make one more set of 5, but these balloons are only inflated to 3 pumps of air, or about 4 inches in diameter. Once you've got all 5 balloons twisted together in the set, you want to make sure that you don't have 2 balloons of the same color sitting right next to each other. If that happens, just twist the balloons around so you get a nice even disbursement of the colors. We need a structure to build our design on top of, and I'm using this IKEA tag art lamp. It's really inexpensive and all the electrical pieces are separate from the lamp. So out of this, I'm just using the base and 3 of the pole pieces, which twist together really simply to create a 3-foot tall stand. Now, if you don't have access to IKEA, you could always hot glue a dowel rod to a cake board and that would work as well. I just love this IKEA hack because it's super modular, has a weighted base, and it's reusable. Now it's time to join our largest set of 5 balloons to the base. So slip these right across the base so that the pole is touching the nozzles of my set of 5, and then take the 2 balloons with the pole in between them and twist those 2 around each other at least twice. This will secure the balloons to the stand so they won't accidentally pop off when we're carrying it or at the party. You want these to lay nice and flat, and look at your color placement to make sure you don't have 2 of the same color right next to each other. Now on top of this, I'm going to place my smaller set of 5 in the exact same way by slipping it around the pole and twisting the 2 balloons with the pole in between them around each other, and then I'm going to gently press down on this set of 5 so it lays nice and flat, and arrange it so one balloon of this current set of 5 is sitting between 2 balloons of the set below it. This will give us a nice clean, snug look for our base. The star of this design are these 12-inch tall stuffed safari animals. Now I chose these specifically because they sit really nicely and they have arms and legs that are long enough to look like they're actually holding on to the design. I'll leave this set linked in the description box below if you'd like to use them as well. Set the stuffed animal in the center of the balloon base that we've created so that it's right against that central pole, wrapping one leg on either side of that pole. Now this toy can easily just fall off the display, so to secure it in place, I'm going to use some mini rubber bands. You can find these in the craft section or in the hair care section as mini hair ties. I'm using clear today so you can see them, but black would also blend in really nicely and disappear. Slide the rubber band over the top of the pole, bringing it all the way down next to the balloons. Set the stuffed toy right on top of that, twist the rubber band in half, and then insert the toy's foot right through that hole in the rubber band, and that will secure the toy to the display. Now the top of the toy can still shimmy back and forth, so I'm going to add one more rubber band, twisting it in half, and then I'm going to insert the toy's arm all the way up through that rubber band so it's right against the shoulder. This will hold the body of the toy nice and stable. To make it look like the animal is holding onto the pole, I'm going to double up a rubber band so it's nice and tight and bring it down over the top of the pole so it's about an inch or 2 above the rubber band holding the shoulder. Wrap the stuffed animal's arm around the pole and then insert the very end of the arm up into that doubled up rubber band so you're just barely catching its hand to hold it in place. Next, we need to assemble the large cluster of balloons that float above our stuffed animal. I'll be using 12 11-inch balloons in an assortment of colors, an electric balloon inflator, as well as a balloon sizer box. If you'd like to learn how to make one of those, I'll leave a tutorial linked above. Inflate your 11-inch balloon until it's almost its full size, and then press it up against the 8-inch hole in the sizer box, slowly letting air out of it until it just fits through that hole. Then you can just tie off the nozzle and note that it's 8 inches in diameter. Once all of those are inflated, we can then tie them into pairs by wrapping the nozzles around twice and tying them in a double knot. With all 12 of them into pairs, we can then join them into our large cluster. Overlap 2 of those pairs so that the nozzles touch in the center, and then twist 1 balloon of each of those around each other, locking them into the start of our cluster. Slot the next pair in the exact same way, making sure the nozzles are touching, and then twist 1 balloon from that pair around a balloon that's already in the cluster. Repeat this step until all of the pairs we created are twisted together into one giant cluster. Then give it a spin to double check that you don't have too many balloons of the same color right next to each other, and adjust them accordingly. Next, I'm going to take an empty 11-inch balloon and slip it over the top of my pole. This will give the pole a little bit more friction for my cluster to stick in place. So take that cluster and pull it right down over the top of the pole so the end of that pole is touching the nozzles of the cluster. The friction between the balloons and the pole will be more than enough to hold it in place. Now I want to jazz it up a little bit, so I'm going to inflate 16 5-inch balloons to 2 pumps of air each, tying them off individually. Then I'm going to take an empty 260 balloon that I've cut in half and tie each end of that to one of those balloons of the same color and use those to accent my top cluster. To attach these, place one of the small balloons in a gap where the larger balloons meet. Then stretch the 260 balloon right across the center of the cluster, placing the other tiny balloon on the opposite side. The tension between the 2 balloons will hold it in place, and then I just repeated this step until all of my little pairs were tied on. And now the centerpiece is ready for a wild celebration. If you enjoyed today's project, you should check out this video. And until the next time, remember, stay creative, everybody!